Well, good morning and a warm welcome back to another week on my plot. This is the third attempt for me to do an intro for this video, because the other two I've stopped because I've just started ranting about the weather. So this is my third and final attempt. Whatever I say now is going. Let me just say that this is the 6th week of challenging weather and I'm fed up with it. And that's all I'm going to say, because I want this one to work. So, on my plot, you've just seen me bringing stuff up, and that's the real key. I've watched, my previous year's videos at the same time of year, just to see how things were going. And I say this every year. There's a seesaw moment when the effort shifts from sowing seeds to the allotment, and we're nearly there. Not quite. The weather is holding us up, but the greenhouse is bursting. I just have, I need a bigger greenhouse, don't you always? But I've got stuff up. I'm looking to release the pressure on the greenhouse by bringing stuff up here, and you've seen me bring stuff up this morning. The peas are going in the ground. They're still a little bit short, but I've got to get stuff away from the garden. So that's the big emphasis today, is to find somewhere to put all that. The brassicas aren't going in the ground, they're only this big. The slugs will eat them overnight if I put those in the ground. I've got brassicas in already that are this big, and they're skeletal overnight where the slugs eat them. So yeah, that's the main effort today. The beds are completely waterlogged and compressed with the heavy rain we've had. Each weekend I hoe and agitate the top surface to get it crumbly, hoping that it'll start to dry out, and through the week the rain compacts it again. So I shall do that again today, and we'll see what happens this week. So yeah, lots going on, very busy, and it's great to be up here. It's Sunday again, I've got all day. Can't wait to get stuck in. Well, I said it's crammed. A lot of it is tomatoes. Why am I growing so many tomatoes? You'd think I'd know the answer to that, wouldn't you? There's all sorts of flowers, and then there's some red cabbage and some green cabbage. Cosmos, a few have come up. I'm not getting very good germination with the flowers. Oh good, some more tomatoes. These are the cut flower seeds, and there's a few up. I suppose some will come up quicker than others. And then basil on the left, more tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, and then lettuce. So yeah, it's full on in the greenhouse. So calendulas, cauliflowers, courgettes, leeks, calabres, and Brussels sprouts, and then the peas in the gutter. They've all got to go somewhere today. I'm fairly confident that the asparagus has survived the wet and cold winter, but this is only its 2nd year, so as much as it pains me, I'm going to give it another year before I start picking. Can't tell you how much that hurts. I'm not a patient man, but it's all coming back, which is good news. The garlic's bomb-proof, isn't it? Survives anything. Looking great. I've got a row of 4 elephant garlics there, and these are just, I don't know which one they are. I'm not very good at keeping the labels intact. But another little piece of good news is these multi-sown onions. They're standing up. I mean, we have had some awful weather this week. It has rained and rained. I said I wouldn't go on, didn't I? But they seem to be doing well. I have high hopes. And it's the same in that bed. Onions that were spring sown. And then the rest of the bed is multi-sown. I think they're red onions called Verve. But yeah, very happy with that. It's that lovely time when the red tulips called Pretty Woman. I don't know why I always remember that name, but I do. And they look stunning. Don't know why there's a gap in the middle. I must have planted them oddly. But anyway, I love them. The pond is looking good. I'm pleased to report the tadpoles are still in there. They don't seem to be developing very much. They still look the same sort of size. Anyway, they must know what they're doing. I've got some multi-sown beetroot and some multi-sown radish. So they're both going in the ground today to free up this tiny cold frame to get some of that stuff in. Another success story is this blackberry. I've shown you in previous episodes how I grounded various running ends, pinned them down, and over the winter they've rooted. And I've managed to produce 4 extra plants. I'll show you what I've done with them. 2 of them, I'm really running out of space. That's the problem nowadays. When I do these things, I'm really pleased to have produced plants for free. Then I have the problem of what the hell do I do with them? So I've decided to grow 2 of the blackberries up this metal arch with the rows. So there's one there and another one here. And the advantage of this one, which I grew in the pot, is I've managed to cut 2 running ends, and I'm rather hoping that they'll grow away and give me an advantage this year and maybe get up and over the frame. So yeah, really pleased with that. And there's another one in the ground. I'll show you that now. And that's the 3rd one there. The 4th one I took over and put next to Bridget's shed, and hopefully she'll find that in due course when she turns up. So really pleased with that. 3 extra plants for me and 1 for somebody who's been giving me plants for years. So it's nice to be able to return the favour. So behind the compost heaps now, I have the raspberry canes with a new one coming up there, and blackberry that I've created myself. That was the blackberry that was growing between the cold frame and the shed that I cut out thinking it was dead, and it's not. And then this one, another Reuben, that's been here for several years, and I forget where that came from. But I'm really looking forward to seeing this lot fruiting. This could be awkward because I only want part of it to come out. Anyway, we'll see. Well, that was easier than I thought. Et voila! Right, this bed behind me that you can see in the background, it's right up next to the shed. And this year, it grew potatoes last year. This year, I'm going to grow a cut flower bed. I smile when I say that because me and a cut flower bed just don't go together. But, you know, nothing gained, nothing, you know what I mean. So yeah, I'm gonna try, we'll see. And I've got various different things growing. I went around the garden centre and I just looked for things that had cut flower in the advisory notes. And you know, there are some flowers we like, Cheryl particularly likes, and it's really about being able to take home things for Cheryl to have in the house. The sweet peas have been a success in previous years. The ones that I've got here now, you will be aware, and I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself to long-time subscribers, but these were sweet peas that set themselves. They dropped as seeds last autumn when the sweet peas were over. I dug them out, I've potted them and kept them over the winter, and they're in now. They look a bit ropey. I have got some fresh seed coming on, but they're going to be grown in the garden at home. So anyway, I'm waffling again. So I've got some amaranthus, some sunflower. It says mixed bumblebee friendly flowers. Nasturtiums, they're always a stalwart. Nigella, poached eggplant. I spoke to Bridget. Bridget has a plot full of poached eggplant. I guess they're sort of semi-invasive, but I think they're beautiful. And they grow in great swathes through her 3 adjoining plots. So I asked her and she let me take a couple of plants, which have been in there now for a few weeks. Let's hope I don't live to regret that decision. But all I'm going to do with these is I'm just going to open the packets and scatter them. And then that alongside the ones that I've sown in the greenhouse, etc. I'm hoping to put on quite a display, not just here, but to be able to obviously cut them and take them home. We'll see. You may have worked out there's nothing scientific going on here. Trouble is now I can't weed it, can I? Because I'm not going to know whether it's a weed or a flower coming. Oh well, ignorance is bliss. And here's the cunning part of my plan. I'm going to keep these so I shall know what's growing. I'm really looking forward to seeing how that develops. If it does. That's another 4 tubs. So after the 7 days I've uncovered the other 2. There's no seedlings showing yet, but I'm hoping in the next week they'll stick their heads up. We shall see. You will know if you've followed me for a while that I quite like quotes and interesting statements. Ernest Hemingway, I don't know a lot about him, but I know he was a bit of a swashbuckler back in the day. You know, he was around and he had Hollywood friends, you know, Errol Flynn and those sorts, and they were proper men. And they're what we call misogynists now. When men were men, you know, and women were the fairer sex. Oh, the good old days. Ernest Hemingway. I watched a thing that, you know, went through some of his quotes, and a lot of them, you know, are very dated, but, you know, I've wrote down a few. See what you think. Worry a little bit every day, and in a lifetime you will lose a couple of years. If something is wrong, fix it if you can. But train yourself not to worry. Worry never fixes anything. That's, you know, that's wonderful. That is so true. The great fallacy, the wisdom of old men. They do not grow wise, they grow careful. Do you know, I think that's so true. When young men take risks, and as you get a little bit older, you start to think, well, what if? You know, so they say, oh, listen to the old men, they know best. No, they're just becoming cautious and careful, which might be a good thing in certain circumstances. When people talk, listen completely. Most people never listen. I like to listen. I have learned a great deal from listening carefully. And you've heard it before, I know. Nature, in its infinite wisdom, decided to give us one mouth and two ears. Yeah, listen to other people. Universities used to be a place where you listened and learned. Now they're a place where young people spout out and won't listen to alternative views. And if you won't listen to alternative views, you will never develop, learn and get better. Happiness in intelligent people is the rarest thing I know. When I read that, I thought, you know, if somebody said, are you happy? I would say, yes, yeah, I'm happy. Now I know why. 3 things never come back: time, words and opportunity. Therefore, do not waste time. Choose words and do not miss an opportunity. That was said by Confucius, actually. A healthy man wants 1,000 things. A sick man only wants one. Wow, wonderful. Anyway, anything that provokes thought is a good thing. Especially if you're happy. Well, that wasn't too bad. So one empty compost bay ready for some more stuff. I'll keep this as the working bay. And obviously that's the stuff that was at the bottom, now at the top. So I'll put the thermometer in and see how that's warming up. Good job. Well, I've topped it off with a good layer of horse muck, and there's a hole in that wood just right for the thermometer. So we'll see what that's like in about a week. Should be warming up. I'm a regular viewer of BBC's Gardener's World. I thoroughly enjoy it, and generally I enjoy Monty Don's approach. I have to say, if he tells me one more time that because of the climate emergency we've got to change our gardens to tolerate drought, I shall scream and throw the telly out the window. Every time he says that, it rains hard for weeks. Anyway, I'm being slightly flippant, but you'll be aware that now that the COVID scary thing is over, they've picked another scary thing. And a few things I've noticed over the last three years is scientists and the media have to create fear. Everything is a crisis. Everything is, if you don't do something about it now, we're all going to die. That's the first thing. Everything's a drama. And the other thing is, scientists they're not always trustworthy. You think because it's a scientist that they're an expert. Well, what I've noticed is scientists need money for research. So if all these climate scientists said, well, actually, you know, climate changes all the time. Ever since the planet Earth was created in a fiery ball of gas, the climate has changed. Ice ages have come and gone, temperatures fluctuate, sea levels go up and down. It has always been thus. Well, then they're not going to get any money for funding, are they? So they have to create an emergency. Just as our health authorities and scientists created an emergency out of COVID, they've all disappeared now, haven't they? So yeah, the takeaway message for me over the last 3 years is never believe anything at face value. I never trust my government, I certainly don't trust the health authorities, and I don't trust scientists because they're paid by somebody. They always have an agenda. There are very, very few people out there with honesty and integrity. So anyway, it's not a rant. I watched a lecture recently by a group of scientists who refute this climate crisis. And one of the main themes of the talk was how through the years, through the decades, climate scientists have screamed emergency only to find out their predictions are complete rubbish. And as they went through them in a sort of a chronological order, although at the end they bounce about, I wrote them down and I thought it was quite profound. And this is all in my lifetime. You may find it interesting, you may not. In 1970, climate scientists said we'd be in a new ice age by the year 2000. In 1970, they said that the US would be subject to water rationing by 1974. In 1971, they said there'd be a new ice age by 2020, so they pushed it back a bit. In 1974, they said the ozone layer depletion was a great peril to life. Turns out it repaired itself. The planet adjusts. In 1976, the scientific consensus was that the planet is cooling. And here we are now, and they call it global warming. In 1980, scientists said that the acid rain would kill all life in lakes around the world. It didn't. In 1988, the Maldives would be underwater by 2018. They weren't. In 1989, rising sea levels will obliterate nations by the year 2000. It didn't. There's a theme, isn't there? In 2004, scientists said that Britain will be a new Siberia by the year 2024. Well, okay, we're not there yet, but it doesn't look likely, does it? In 2008, scientists said that the Arctic will be ice-free by 2018. That lunatic Greta Thunberg recently had to take that off her website because it didn't turn out to be true. In 2009, the then Prince Charles says we have 96 months to save the Earth. And then a few more that aren't in that necessarily chronological order. In 1966, scientists said that oil will be gone in 10 years. In 2005, they said Manhattan will be underwater by 2015. In 1970, they said that those people living in cities will need gas masks by 1985. And in 1989, the UN warned entire nations will be destroyed by the year 2000 by global warming. And that was the UN. So, yeah, very interesting. So, you know, I'm not anxious, I'm not worried. Worrying doesn't cure anything. The climate's fine, in my humble opinion. And don't trust a scientist. Quite interesting. Well, it's just gone 3. And I'm going to make my way home because I've got a little bit of work to do in the greenhouse. It's drizzled all day long. It's drizzling right now. And that's the problem really, is the weather's not warming up. I mean, I've got my coat back on. The weather's not warming up. The ground's not drying up. It's a challenge. Anyway, enough about the weather. Can't change it. It is what it is. But I've achieved a lot today. All the beds are looking better. I've hoed all around all the garlic. I haven't done the onions. The ground is still heavy and claggy. Still, at least I'm not watering. That's a positive. So yeah, a good day on the plot. Back home, do a bit in the greenhouse, then I'll do a little bit in the garden, and then I might put my feet up. So thank you for joining me. Thanks if you've subscribed, and I shall probably see you next week. Who knows what's coming in the week ahead. Wherever you are, I hope you're enjoying your gardens and your allotments, and I shall see you soon. Take care. Bye for now.